Another Marvel Netflix show. Another 13 hours of my life gone. I keep hoping they do my favorite characters justice. But then I remember, this isn't about justice. This is about punishment.
You kind of get the idea, right? Like, this is the closest thing I have to a gun, so you get it, right? The Punisher! Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. It's here, the final Marvel Netflix movie of the year, The Punisher. Yes! I freaking love The Punisher, one of my favorite comic book heroes, and I've loved every movie they've done about him, and I loved him in Daredevil Season 2. I'm so excited for this. So what did I like? What did I dislike? How does it fit into the greater Marvel Universe? Let's talk about it. Since this is part of the greater Marvel Universe, let's go ahead and give my hierarchy of what we got in Marvel so far this year. Although I feel like I've done this a lot lately, so I'm just going to go through it really quickly. So at the top, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Then we got Spider-Man Homecoming, The Defenders, Thor Ragnarok, Iron Fist, and at the bottom of the pile, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 4. So there we go. Yeah. So where does Punisher fit on this list? Let's talk about it. So the general plot of The Punisher is this takes place, of course, after the events of Daredevil Season 2, where Frank Castle is presumed dead, and he is trying to live a life. He's gone through and punished all the people he thought were involved with his family's death, and is back to trying to live a normal, regular life. But then he's contacted by a man named Micro, who tells him maybe his family's deaths weren't so cut and dry as he assumed, and it starts a whole new delve into a different world, diving into Frank's past, and maybe finding out that he needs to punish more people. Ooh, yeah. So that's the general plot of The Punisher without getting into too many spoilers. So let's talk about the characters. So of course we have John Berthenol, who reprises his role as Frank Castle from Daredevil Season 2. I already talked about him. I like him a lot as Frank Castle. This is a very young Frank Castle in this, very early in his career. So he's not quite to the point of he's this master strategist who can take down the Avengers, which if you want to see that storyline, Punisher Warzone Volume 3 from 2012, super awesome. You should check it out. But anyways, this is a younger Punisher. He's still finding faults in what he's doing. But it still shows that he is just an awesome soldier. He knows how to kill people the best ways possible. And he's dark, and he adds this real intensity and insanity to the Punisher that we've yet to see in the other Punishers that came before him. So I really like John Berthenol as the Punisher. He does a really good job. So additional to this, helping him out is Micro, played by Ebon Moss-Bachrach. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. So basically, they changed Micro's character a little bit, Microchip in the comics. He's now more of a Snowden replacement. He was selling government secrets, and now he has to go into hiding, and he can't see his family. But I really like what he does. He's not everything with computers. He doesn't like sit down, type, like, oh, I got all these records. Like, they still make a few jokes about, like, I can't just pull that up. But he can't, he's, awesome with computers. He helps Frank plan. But he also didn't know what he was getting into when he teamed up with Frank. But also Frank didn't know what he was getting into when they teamed up with Micro. It's very much about building this relationship between the two. Their ups, their downs, their fights. It's a real bromance situation going on. But I really like what they did. And I like this Micro a lot. He's got a lot of depth to him. A lot of interesting stuff. I like what he did. Then we got Billy Russo, played by Ben Barnes, or you might recognize him as Prince Caspian. So they changed Billy Russo from what he is in the comics, if you know him from the comics. But now he's part of Frank's platoon, or was part of Frank's platoon, and he's trying to help Frank out now that he knows Frank's still alive. And he's got a lot going on, a lot of interesting stuff. I liked what he did, and some good stuff there. We have the main villain of the series, William Rollins, played by Paul Schultz. And there is a secondary villain, but I won't tell you about him for spoiler reasons, but there is a secondary villain. But he is a CIA operative who was doing some sketchy things in Afghanistan for the good of the country. But he's a sketchballs guy, and he wants to take out people that might take him down, kind of thing. And it's up to the Punisher to stop him. And he's very intimidating, very cool. You're not sure what's going on in his head, so he's kind of calculating like that. Not the top tier best Marvel villain, but he's good enough for what we got. I liked him. So another character we got who is actually made for the series, is not part of the comic as far as I could tell. Diana Madini, and played by Amber Rose Rava. And so she is a Homeland Security agent who's investigating a death of one of her informants, and finds that the Punisher may be involved, and dives into this deeper world. And she's really cool, this strong, confident, take no fucking prisoners character. I liked her a lot. She really skates this line of, is the Punisher good, is the Punisher bad, and really deals with that, and I like that a lot. She was a very solid addition to this cast. So what worked well about the Punisher? So overall, there are some really solid action scenes, some good gunfights, some good hand-to-hand stuff, really seeing Frank being an awesome soldier. I think John Berthnall got some good training done for this, because it seems to really be more standard military fighting for him, and not so much, action-y, like blam, 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 blam stuff. Like more precise, shoot, check the corners kind of stuff. I could be wrong. I don't know anything about that shit, but it looked good to me, at least. Some good knife fights. Overall, the action was very satisfying. Now, this overall series has a big undertone of PTSD and soldiers returning home from war, dealing with not only stuff they saw over there, but how they've been trained for something that doesn't need to be in a regular society. Like, who needs to drive a tank when you work at an office job kind of stuff. So it deals a lot with that, and creates some really good undertones. And if you're kind of interested in, that sort of thing, it dives really into that and brings up some really good points and some interesting effects on that. And I like that, as well as it ties in to a little bit of a Oklahoma City bombing kind of parody. Not funny parody, but just like it's supposed to be kind of like that, which is kind of cool, and I like what they did there. I don't know if it was specifically meant to be that, but it did have a lot of parallels, and I like that, and I like dealing with that whole situation going on there. Now, this next thing I usually count as a negative for these Netflix shows, but I'm saying it's a positive here, and that this show is a vortex in the Marvel Universe. Nothing else in the Marvel Universe affects this show at all. Outside of Karen Page, who was in Daredevil and Defenders, that is the only tie to anything else. This is very much its own centralized story. Now, why I say it's a positive is I'm a big Punisher fan, and I've been reading Punisher for a long time. He doesn't deal with the wider Marvel Universe that much. He is a street level, my mission is to punish, bad guys. And that's what he does. He doesn't care if there's Skrulls coming in. He doesn't care if there's a civil war. It's just about his mission and what he's doing. And that fits what they did here. Like, it's not about, Infinity Stones. That doesn't matter. It's not about the Hand. It's about what's going on with Frank and his mission. He's very, narrow-minded and pointed in that way. And so that is really comic accurate, in my opinion, that he's just, his mission, it's not about this bigger universe. Now, in contrast to comic accurate, they did make some change to some characters, which I'll get into more on spoilers. But I think most of the changes were done well. They made them fit the narrative better rather than forcing in an awkward, cameo or an awkward version of this character that'd be more comic accurate. It wouldn't fit this universe. So they worked on the tone a lot more and fit the narrative rather than just shoving in things that would fit because it's the comics. And usually, that's a hard line to follow, and I think they did a good job doing that, and it worked out pretty well. And my favorite part of this whole series is the relationships. Micro and the Punisher getting along. The Punisher and Micro's family. Micro and his family. There's a lot going on there. I kind of talked about the bromance a little bit already, but there's a lot going on there. Micro can't see his family, so he sometimes sends Frank to go see his family, and it's a whole he can see them but he can't, and it's this really deep, interesting thing. I really like what they did with Micro here and just how they build these relationships, and where they're gonna go in future stuff with Micro and how he works with the Punisher and if he will work. I don't know, it's a lot of cool stuff. I don't want to spoil too much, but I really like what they did with the relationships there. But of course, no series is perfect. Where does the Punisher fall short? So as with all Marvel's Netflix stuff, it is too long. This is pretty much already done by the time Defenders came out with their 8 episodes, and everyone's like, yeah, that's better. So maybe they were already into the 13, and hopefully future ones will be back to 8, which I'd be totally okay with. But I even have a better solution. Take the budget you would have for 13 episodes and just make a 3-hour, a little bit longer movie that's released on Netflix so we can still get our adult stuff and we can watch it at our leisure kind of thing. But just do a movie. You don't need to do a whole series. All these series are based around a single villain anyways, and their build up to that. Just do a movie. Or do 2 movies. It doesn't need to be 13 episodes. And this one really felt like they had about 4 to 5 hours worth of content that they stretched to 13, and it feels like it. It's very long and gets very slow in the middle. And there's at least 2 episodes where the Punisher doesn't even shoot one freaking round. And you're like, you're the Punisher! You're punishing people! Do that! Why are we talking so much? Shoot a thing! It does have some interesting things going on, but God, it gets so slow. And I shotgunned this whole thing, 13 episodes in 13 hours, and yeah, it was so slow. It just dragged. The last 4 episodes are fantastic, but getting there just takes a lot. And, there's just not enough of the Punisher punishing people. I'll have to get into more spoilers. I don't want to spoil too much, but yeah, there's a lack of punishment in the Punisher. The Punisher murders drug dealers. That's what he does. Spider-Man shoots webs. The Punisher kills drug dealers. There was no drug dealers that he killed. You're missing the entire point of this Punisher. So, yeah, that was a problem for me. But enough of that. Let's get into some spoilers. So throw up the spoiler sign and jump to this time code here if you want to skip spoilers, because I'm going to do some spoilers. So overall, really outside the slowness and things, the biggest problem was the change that they made to the Punisher's backstory. I mean, they got it pretty much right in Daredevil Season 2, but now they're like, well, it wasn't gangs, it was, your old military people trying to cover up military stuff. Which in a sense could work, and it works in a narrative, but the problem is that changes the Punisher at his core. Because the Punisher punishes people because he saw what happens when gangs run free and do what they want. Innocent people die, like his family. And that's what puts him on the mission and keeps him on the mission of punishing people, is that, it was random drug dealers. When you make it a specific person and a specific problem, then it just becomes a revenge story and not so much about the Punisher's drive to abolish all crime in the most brutal fashions possible. And it really just changes the character to his core, and in a lot of ways puts a bit of a cap on how far they can go with this Punisher, because, why should he keep going when everyone that was involved is dead. And they were all specifically aiming at him for a specific problem. It wasn't just a random act of violence. If it's random, you don't really have people to blame, and he just goes after, criminals as a whole, and creates this drive to punish criminals. And it really just shot the narrative, and it changed changed the Punisher at his core, and I don't like that. The story worked for what it was, but it's not quite the Punisher as it should be. It just shifted him too much, I thought. The other spoiler, I'll go ahead and get into that other villain I talked about, which, if you know who Billy Russo is from the comics, he is the character of Jigsaw. No, the other Jigsaw. There you go. He is, in the comics, he's a part of the mob, and during a tussle with the Punisher, gets his whole face scarred up, and he is all about being the pretty boy and stuff. And then now he vows revenge on the Punisher, and he's one of the Punisher's few reoccurring villains because the Punisher murders everybody, so he doesn't have much of a rogues gallery. But the Jigsaw sticks around. I like how they built up to that, and he's kind of left over to where he might become Jigsaw in a future series if they go ahead and continue this. And I like what they did there. There was, maybe just because I knew he was Jigsaw, that I saw a lot of this, but there was a lot of emphasis on how pretty he was and how, I love my face and all this stuff, and it's too much I love being alive. I hope I don't die soon because I sure love being alive. It was oh yeah, I see this coming. Yeah, it's coming. Wait for it. It's coming. So there's a little bit of that, but I do like what they did with him, and I like the shift from Billy, trying to help the Punisher, but having a dark side and going into that. I like that a lot. He was a solid villain. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. So in the end, when the Punisher was good, it was great. The last 4 episodes were fantastic. The first 2 are really good as well. But there's a whole middle section that just drags. It's less annoying than Iron Fist because it's not people making stupid decisions and doing stupid things. It's just really slow. They really could have honestly cut this down to 6 episodes. It'd probably be better for it. But yeah, if you could somehow figure out a way to just watch 1, 2, and then jump to 10, 11, 12, 13, that would be the way to do this. Because the middle part is slow. I was so bored. I really hope Netflix switches to just do movies, but at least 8 episodes. But really, just do a movie. Do a straight to Netflix release movie of The Punisher. That would have been great. But in the end, this did have some really good moments, and I enjoyed it when it was good, but it did get slow. But I think overall, in the pantheon of all the Punisher movies that we've gotten, I think this is the worst. This is the least like the comics and the least fun. The Punisher is a body count, and we didn't get much of a body count. Now, it does dive deeper into some deeper things and goes that route, and that could be enjoyable to some people. But for me, as a Punisher fan and who's been reading the comics, this isn't the Punisher that I really wanted. It got there eventually, but took a long time to get there. So it's kind of hit or miss. It kind of hits in the middle there. I wouldn't say you need to see this right away, but it is a decent addition to the Netflix pantheon with the Marvel stuff. So I guess take that with what it is. I guess. I don't know. Take it where it's at. I don't know. If you enjoyed, all the Netflix stuff, it fits in with that. If you're looking for another Daredevil Season 1, this isn't it. So there you go. That's my review. I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, hold on to your hold slots.
hey, my own Marvel style after credits stinger. So yeah, if you made it this far, I went ahead and decided to put down my final list of Marvel 2017. So you can see The Punisher hit the middle ground. I am slightly cheating with Inhumans because I am one episode short of completing the series, but there is no way that one episode will make up for the rest of the series. So this is my final list of Marvel 2017. What do you think if you made it this far? Yeah, let me know.